This chapter was executed so well from start to finish, and it was so nice to just see that look towards the end on Spandam's face. I love it.
One Piece, Chapter 386, Unprecedented.
Oh, you gotta love it, man. You couldn't beat this grin off of me. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim here to bring you another review on the awesome and action-packed and just surprisingly comedically funny tale, also on being serious tale, of One Piece. And in our last chapter saw us with, of course, just the shit just sort of hitting the fan on several fronts, everywhere, every which way. And as you can imagine, we've obviously been left hanging in the midst of several different battles. But really, the significant portion of it and where things ended off was Gomora getting, with the help, of course, of Sanji and Zoro, and just kind of busting through into the courtyard in front of the courthouse and really getting closer to their destination of being able to meet up with Luffy and drop that drawbridge and, of course, go across into the Tower of Law, so and rescue Robin and Franky. So that is how things left off, and things pick up in a rather funny manner. Anybody who has ever seen the movie Spaceballs, obviously you're clued in. You're going to know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, it's a wonderful Mel Brooks film, an absolute classic. It's funny, even if it's satirical comedy making fun of like Star Wars and Star Trek and those type of sci-fi movies, but just done so well. One of Rick Moranis' best films. Anyway, Rick Moranis winds up playing Dark Helmet, which is just this movie's version of like a Darth Vader. And he's kind of this goofy guy and whatnot, and there's a scene where he's sitting around and he's playing with these action figures, dolls that he has, and he's talking to him, making voices, and he's going, "Oh no, you come here, big boy. Oh no." And his like commander or whatever, his like second in command guy walks in on him, and he's just like, he grabs everything. He's like, "Hey, why don't you knock? Didn't you see me? or what did you see?" And he's like, "Nothing, sir. I did not see you playing with your dolls, sir." Anyway, the whole point of this story and this particular scene is that Spandam is sitting around for the first couple pages, and he's kind of talking to himself about the power that he's going to have, and about this golden snail phone that he has, that Admiral A-OK over there wound up giving him, to actually make the Buster call. So maybe he isn't actually full of shit. I thought he was a couple chapters ago with it, but either way, it doesn't matter. He's still full of a lot of stuff, and shit's only one of the things. But anyway, the way he's sitting in there talking to himself about how he's going to be so powerful, and then he won't even need somebody to give him one of these phones because, or lend him one of these phones because he'll just have one, And he's basically talking about and kind of just like giving like the evil, sinister sort of monologue type thing, right? And then all of a sudden somebody busts in and he's just like, "What the hell? Don't you even knock? I could have pressed the button by accident on the phone for the Buster call, Would have wiped out an entire island." And it just reminded me so much of that because Spandam to me is a joke. He's an absolute joke. I don't care if he's a director or not. He's a joke. He's a dick with eyes. Just any other analogy you can think of. He's a piece of garbage. And but the funny part is that everybody knows that he's a joke too. Even people that work for him and underneath him, they listen to him because they have to, because they believe in kind of the office, so to speak, the director, the position, but they don't believe in him because they know he's just a moron. So. It really reminded me of that whole scene with Rick Moranis and Dark Helmet. Obviously, that was supposed to be funny and satirical. This is just sort of funny because of, Spandam. He's an idiot. So anyway, all of a sudden, the guy that burst in, he says, "Well, but they're trying to get in touch with you, on the phone." And he's like, he looks over and his phone is off the hook. And I think because he left it off the hook last time because he's an idiot. And he's like, "Why do people keep doing that?" And blah, blah, blah. So anyway, then you go and you get taken into the next room or whatever, a couple rooms over, where Robin and Franky are being held, And he comes in there and he's like, just kind of trying to add insult to injury. And he's like, "Yeah, so I'm about to take this call over here now, and I kind of wanted you to be present for it because I'm sure that they're going to tell me that the Straw Hats were defeated and maybe even some of them were killed, but hey, there's nothing we could do about that." And he's going on and on in this monologue, right? I'm just thinking, you dumb son of a bitch, right? So he's going on, he's doing his little monologue, he's doing everything else, and then we go and he actually picks up the phone, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, I think he puts him on like speaker or something, so Robin can hear too, thinking, "Oh, we're gonna tell her, right?" And he's like, "Give me a report, and this and that." And he had told Robin that, they had only gotten past 5 guards, or injured 5 guards in there. And this dude goes to start spitting out the report, and as he does, he's just like, "Oh my God, sir, I can't believe what happened." Thousands of soldiers have been defeated, but before he even gets to that, it kind of segues into showing us where Gomora had obviously dropped and fell, and you've got you know, Sanji and Zoro standing there right at the gates to the courthouse, and obviously where they're at, and it's almost, it's nice because you're seeing the visual depiction, but it's almost like this is what the guard is going and describing to Spandam. That's what I took from it, you know, of what's happening. The shit is hit the fan. So anyway, we wind up seeing Zoro and Sanji, and they're obviously, they're just going to start going just fucking balls deep on everybody, right? And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Zoro senses it first, but it winds up coming flying. One of those big chain balls comes flying, and Yokozuna's just like, ribbit, and he jumps up and grabs that fucker and catches it, right? It looks like he catches it and just right in mid-air, you know? And they're like, what the hell? What was that? Those were the type of things that took down Gomora, you know? And so anyway, so Chopper and Zoro are arguing about whether they should go after or not, and Zoro's like, no, then we'll waste time, and Chopper's like, yeah, but they're the ones that, you know, and we should do, and all of a sudden Sanji just appears, right? All badass, smoking a cigarette, and he's got a body next to him of some dude that looks like some weird S&M type of, like, executioner, you know? And I'm assuming that these are those royal judicial jurors or whatever, the 11 that they were talking about a couple of chapters ago that the Baskerville Chief Justice unleashed, you know? Because he says, yeah, I decided that we should see what we're up against, so I went and I took care of one of them. I scouted out, and everybody's like, you know, and the Franky family are still amazed. They're like, whoa, he took one down. And he's like, we got to be careful, though, because there's more out there hiding. So we know, obviously, there's 10 more of them out there as well. But just very funny how everything's set up. So then we go and we see that, you know, that they're going to wind up going, the Franky family's going to split up into 3 teams. One that's going to go to the left tower, one to the right tower to obviously hit those levers. And then one team is going to go inside the courthouse to actually go and clear things out. Zoro and Sanji determine that they're not going to be able to get up over to the top of the thing. They're not rubber like Luffy. They can't stretch. So they're going to have to obviously go through things. And then all they actually saw from a distance was Luffy fighting the horn guy, which we know is Bluno. But anyway, it's great because they're like, oh, no one can get, and you get some of the government officials that are like, no one can get through those stone, huge iron or stone gates and everything else, right? Fucking Zoro's just like, you just see him after he's made a couple of slashes already, and he's just cut out like a big section of the stone like it was nothing, man. Like he was just slicing through butter. And they're just like, oh my god. So anyway, that third team of Franky family members is going to go in to clear out whatever type of opposition they might have in the courthouse as well. And it's just funny how everything is laid out and portrayed right in the middle of the chapter, because again, I felt like it was the visualization, the visual depiction of the words that were probably coming through the phone to Spandam, right? So then you get towards the end of the chapter, you get so after they go through with all that, then it goes and it shows us, and I love Spandam's face right there. Doesn't that look like he just got punched right in the dick? Doesn't that look, oh man. It looks like he might have just swallowed a fart. Like a really nasty, just a mean, you know, just nasty fart, right? And I'm looking at him, and then he's getting the report as they're coming through, and they're like, you know, we've taken heavy casualties. They're talking about Kashi and Oimo have joined the pirates. They're talking about there's 2,000 guards that have been, the number of guard casualties is over 2,000. More than 1,000 of those were defeated by Captain Straw Hat Luffy, who has suddenly disappeared. A search operation is underway. And Spandam shitting his shitting bricks over here, right? And this is just great because it's like, this may be a catastrophe, the likes of which we've never seen before, you know? In the entire history of Eni's lobby. And then he's just like, you know, Spandam's like, Bluno, what's he doing, you know? And, you know, what's going on? What is happening on this island? And it's great because you got this little picture over here in the corner where you got Franky just laughing his ass off. Robin, I think, is finally starting to come to the realization now that, hey, man, it's ride or die with this crew. I ain't leaving nothing. Luffy will destroy the whole fucking island if he has to. So, awesome chapter, man. Cannot wait to dive into the next one. Great stuff. But again, just thought it was wonderful how it was depicted. And that leads kind of to my chapter question. My chapter question is, you know, really, what were your thoughts on how this chapter played out and really was depicted? Because it started out with Spandam and obviously his nonsense that he had going on with his talking to himself and everything else. But once he was going to go and try to talk shit to Robin and everything else and got on the phone, I loved it how then it segued into actually showing us what was going on at the gates of the courthouse. And again, what were your thoughts on that? I interpreted it as that you know, it was almost like being described in vivid picture and detail to Spandam over the phone, you know? Or kind of like when you're watching a movie and then all of a sudden it's like, and now we're going to check in real quick. I'm talking about this on the phone, but now I'm going to show what's actually going on in real life. So what are your thoughts on that? Because honestly, I think it was a great job and it was a real nice segue. And really, it was just kind of great to see Spandam in that look of like, oh my God, on his face, you know? But let me know what your thoughts are, brothers and sisters, in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll look forward to catching all of you in the next one.
Come subscribe to my other channels, and then follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram too.